Have you ever had that feeling where your chest feels tight, your stomach's in knots, and your brain just won't stop racing, even when there's no obvious reason? Well, that's anxiety, and it's something most of us face at some point, whether we admit to it or whether we don't. And to be honest, I've had my fair share of it, and I understand that sometimes it can really knock your confidence. But anxiety is simply your body's way of responding to stress or danger, even if in reality, there's nothing dangerous actually happening. It was hugely important back in the day when we were likely to be hunted by predators like bears or wolves, but let's face it, for the most of us, that's not so much of a concern anymore. However, your brain still processes this fear in exactly the same way. It's your fight or flight reflex kicking in. Your heart rate goes up, your breathing changes, and your mind starts to race. And if that sounds like you, stick around and I'll show you some simple ways where you can reprogram your brain and learn to keep your anxiety better under control. That said, a bit of anxiety is perfectly normal. It keeps us on our toes, keeps us alert, if you like, or on our A game. For example, you might have felt it just before a job interview or before your driving test, and that's natural. But when it starts to interfere with your day-to-day life, that is when it starts to become a bit of a problem. There are many ways to manage anxiety, but I found that there are 4 simple ways that have been the most useful for me, so I thought I'd share them today with you. And stick around to the end because I'll give you an extra bonus tip as well. Although I'm now used to giving talks to a room full of people, even now I still get a little anxious just before it's my turn to hit the spotlight. And when it does kick in, one of the first things that affects me is my breathing. It'll often become shallow and speed up. Now, I know it might seem obvious, but the key here is to just try and slow it down again, even just for a minute or so, because that can be just enough time to allow the feeling of anxiety to pass. There are many different types of breathing exercise out there, but one of my favorites is the box breathing method, and one that I still use today, even before I press record to film these videos, as it helps me to settle my nerves. So just pause for a moment, then breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, then hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out through your mouth for 4, and then hold it for 4. Like the 4 sides of a box. Let's do it together. So breathe in, hold it, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and breathe in, hold, exhale, hold. One more, breathe in, hold, exhale, hold, and then breathe normally. So do that a few times, and you can do it anywhere, but if you're already feeling a little self-conscious, ideally somewhere quiet if you can. And then you'll feel your breathing start to settle, your heart rate will slow down a bit, and you'll begin to feel a sense of calm returning. If you're in public like I am at the moment and don't want to make it obvious, just slow your exhale down a little, and that alone can send a safety signal to your brain to let you know that everything is okay. So instead of going on the exhale, just go. It's much more subtle, but it still has the same desired effect in slowing things down and letting your brain know that you're absolutely fine. Anxiety loves to mess with your mind at the best of times. It traps you in that cycle of overthinking, racing thoughts, and all the what ifs that suddenly pop up. So when that happens, one of the quickest ways to interrupt it is to shift your attention onto something else. It's not unusual for me to replay conversations in my head over and over, picking apart everything that I've said. My mind tries to convince me that I've said the wrong thing or that people are judging me, even when there's no real reason to think it. So if that sounds like you, try shifting your focus onto something physical. It'll also help give your brain a break and let your senses take over for a little bit. And they can do that just by walking like I've done this evening, focusing on how you feel when your feet hit the ground and the rhythm of your steps and what you can hear around you. Can you hear the birds singing? If we're indoors, even things like splashing cold water on your face or holding something cold or textured, or even a fidget spinner or twiddling a pen can help. All these things take your mind away from the anxiety and makes it focus on what you're doing. And that way it takes your anxious thoughts into the background and helps your mind process them easier and calms you back down again. Even something simple like stretching or rolling your shoulders can help you. It's all about doing something as a distraction technique just to let your brain know that everything is actually fine. This one catches a lot of people out, especially if you're someone who runs on tea or, like me, coffee. Caffeine is a stimulant, and if you're already feeling anxious, it's pretty much the last thing that you're going to need. The likely result will be a faster heart rate and racing thoughts, and basically it mimics the anxiety symptoms. Now, for me, at one time, I didn't realise just how much coffee I was drinking in a day until one afternoon I found my hands shaking almost uncontrollably, and that was the wake-up call that I needed. Ever since then, I've been mindful to keep an eye on how much caffeine I drink each day. Now, I'm not saying that you need to cut it out completely, but if you notice your anxiety is worse after your third coffee in the morning, or you're relying on energy drinks to get you through the day, it might be worth just cutting it back just a little bit. So try switching to decaf after midday, or swapping a coffee for a water or a herbal tea or a squash. It's a small change, but you'll notice a big difference in the way that you feel. Essentially, it's about finding that balance. So just pay attention to how your body reacts. It might take a little bit of time, but when you feel like the anxiety symptoms are starting to come along a little bit more regularly, there might be an opportunity then to think about, are you drinking too much caffeinated drinks? Do you need to rein it back a little bit? So it's finding that balance and finding what works for you. Sleep and anxiety have a difficult enough relationship at the best of times. The worse your sleep is, the more anxious you feel, and the more anxious you feel, the harder it is to sleep. And it's a vicious circle. There are times at night when my brain just won't switch off, and I'll end up lying awake thinking about everything that I didn't get done or worrying about the next day. Even when I'm exhausted, my mind will still end up racing and racing. The trouble is, when you're overtired, your brain can't handle stuff as well. And what are actually small problems can quickly become huge ones. And you start overthinking, which fires up your brain even more. And the constant doom scrolling on your phone doesn't help either. That keeps your brain overstimulated. The news channels, social media feeds and group chats, all of it can sneakily feed your anxiety. So I found that putting my phone down an hour before bed or setting limits on certain apps can be a big help for me. I've also set my phone to go into sleep mode at a certain time so that I'm not distracted if any notifications do come in whilst I'm trying to get to sleep. Also, if you need to have your phone in your bedroom for your alarm in the morning like I do, place it on the other side of the room. That way it will be away from temptation. And also you'll need to get out of bed in the morning to switch your alarm off, which will lessen the likelihood of you pressing snooze and then going back to sleep again. And trying to go to bed and wake up at the same time most days as well, even on the weekends. It helps to reset your body clock, which makes it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. And I know it's not always possible, but when you develop this regular routine and start sleeping better, you'll soon feel the difference. And you don't need to get the perfect 8 hours of sleep every night either, but a few small habits can make a real difference over time. So as promised, here's that bonus tip. If you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, one thing I definitely recommend is simply getting outside in the fresh air or going for a walk. It doesn't have to be for long, just a 10-minute walk around the block can be enough. Fresh air, natural light and the sound of the birds singing can all be a calming influence to settle your mind. Sometimes simply having a change of scenery can have that calming effect as well. Again, it's another distraction technique, and it's another way you're telling your brain that everything is actually fine and you're in control and there's nothing to worry about. Give it a try. So as we've seen, anxiety is much more common than you might think, and it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you either. It's a perfectly natural feeling, But sometimes you just have to remind your brain that everything is absolutely fine and there's no need to worry. Remember, it's just your brain trying to keep you safe, even if it is a bit overprotective sometimes. And also remember that when anxiety does show up, there are things that you can do to calm it back down again. And you might not get it perfect every time, but with practice, your success rate will get better and better. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my future videos. And also let me know in the comments which technique works best for you. But more importantly, remember, take care of yourself. And also remember, you don't have to do this alone, as together we are unbeatable. Till next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.